Well, hello there, YouTube. It's Thursday, July 14th, 2022, and today I'm doing a video on reconditioning the intake manifold. Well, actually, this is the intake manifold, and when I removed it, I'll put a link right up here at the top to the removal process of the intake manifold. But as far as Mercedes goes, they say that what we're doing, because there's several procedures actually, is I'll be removing and reinstalling the intake manifold, gaskets and all this kind of stuff, right? The only gaskets I'm not going to be renewing right now are the actual intake manifold gasket, but we'll be doing all the other ones. The second thing they say we're doing is renewing the intake manifold, but I'm not renewing it. Instead, I'm reconditioning it, right? So I'm not buying a new intake manifold and just and replacing it, this upper and lower intake manifold. The other procedure we're doing is removing and reinstallation of the throttle assembly. I want to mention before we do anything is that Mercedes-Benz does not provide torque specifications or anything for the intake manifold. So you're going to have to use this following chart, which I'm going to include right here. This chart is the tightening chart that they're talking about. So that's it. Basically, we're going to separate the two and replace all the parts and then reassemble it. And there's a few issues that I ran into. You saw this thing over here, right there. Well, that thing's epoxied on there, man. I have been banging on it. I can't get it off. So I don't know if it's been put on there on purpose or whatever, but I've decided to give up on that, and I'm just going to start moving forward at this point. And that's kind of what this video is about. This is basically one of the first things I'm going to probably take apart and actually put all back together. At least that's the plan. We'll see what happens. I mean, even I don't know. So this is part one of part two. I've done a lot of the video footage, so I'm just kind of picking up where I left off when the parts came in, basically, is what I'm going to be doing in part two. So, all right, you guys, until the next one. So I have two different printouts here because, like I said, wasn't sure how this thing comes apart. They show, for example, on this one, this is the document 145455. The manual's in the description. But they show like these things here, and then a spacer, and then it attaches to the top of the intake manifold. This is the bottom part. We're going to be replacing these right here. But what I want to point out is these don't exist. We don't have any such thing. Okay? Not in this intake manifold. So, maybe for a different version, maybe, I have no idea, but this certainly is not the case. I think these just pop apart somehow. I mean, right now I can't get them apart, but I think we can put something in there and pry it apart. That's how that works, but we're going to take it off because we can't have that on there. And I'm going to sit that in my bag. There's nothing else. So how these really attach is from the top part. They go in this hole right here, and then the bolt goes all the way through, and then that's what actually holds all these together. There's one here, there's one here, there's no spacers, none of that kind of stuff. I'm thinking what we're going to do, I did buy a new one of these because I broke that, if you guys remember, in the previous one of the previous videos. So I bought a new one of those. This is pretty corroded right here. I'm going to want to clean that all up. I want to keep all these things together and in their right order. So we don't want to screw any of this stuff up. But we're going to separate the two. And I'm going to just try it with a stick. So let me get it all set up and we'll see how to do it. So because the manual is of no real use, we're going to be really careful because I don't know, what this will do. But I think we can just pop that, but we don't want to put stress on it. Yes, that's how it comes apart. So there we go. Now we can see what it looks like. All right. So I've got a couple of hoses here that's in my way. So that is how they come apart, no doubt about that. It's really hard in here and has carbon all in this. So that'll be something. But over here, right, that other one is connected. So I'm going to have to mark that so I don't mess that up. Fold that off to the side. Yeah, these things are so hard I can't even squeeze them or anything. They're just rock hard. So if you notice the new ones, right, but I can't even squeeze that. It's like solid plastic. So, you know, this needed to be replaced. This is separate now. I can just set this off to the side. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Now, let's take a look at this. So you can see it's got a lot of junk and stuff in there. It's kind of sludgy. You can actually see the stuff slowly dripping. So there's a lot of sludge inside of here. Take this off and take this off. So let's do that. This type doesn't fit. You can't get that in there. It's too much at an angle. You can't get it in the hole. So you're going to have to probably use one of these. This is what I'm going to use. It's 5mm. Both are the same size. It appears that they are. Now, it's been on there for 100 years, so I don't know how easy that's going to be to get off of there. You can just put a little pry bar in here a little bit. See if that'll pop it. Nope, that's not going to pop it. There we go. So there we go. As you can see, you know, it's just like a throttle valve, whatever they call these things. So now we've got that disconnected, and now we'll take this one off. I'm going to just go back and forth a little bit just to make sure, you know, you don't want to strip anything. There is no washer, but they used blue Loctite. That's why it was so difficult to undo. I wouldn't even take this thing apart because I hate taking things apart. There's a bracket right there. Right here, there's that bracket. I want to point out that, you know, they're on those other, on the EGR, on the one side, there's no washer. On this side, there's also no washer. Let me show you what all that stuff looks like before we start taking the rest of it apart here. So that's the EGR valve side, and you can see it's almost plugged. That is pretty much plugged. So again, I'm glad I took it apart because that would not be functioning properly. Alright, I'm just here to document now. So this hose with this red rubber goes into our into this thing here. I just want to keep all these hoses together so I know where they go. Right, that's where that hose goes. So I'm going to take it off of here. This thing into this bag. Right here. And just use like plastic or anything you want to try to get this. So there you go. I still got to take this gasket off, and but I thought we would loosen it up with the solvent. I've already started scraping it with this piece of plastic, right? Just that plastic, like I did the oil pan, and just catch an edge and it comes off. I also have this little razor blade thing, and I found sometimes doing it opposite actually works sometimes better. And then also you want to also make sure you clean out every one of these screws or threads. All the threads you want to make sure they're completely clean, and blow them out with your air compressor when you're done. If you don't have an air compressor, buy one. Good enough for now. No scratches. Right? So just a heads up, if you really want to clean these, you're going to find out there's carbon and they get trapped in these corners and all kinds of stuff. You can just see, this is all the... Right, so again, I'm just using a copper wire to kind of help me get into these little crevices. Seems to be working pretty good. I'm just about done with it, because you wouldn't want that going into your engine. So we want to make sure this is perfectly clean. The back side of this as well, you can feel it. But this works actually pretty good. So especially like where there's little casting marks. There's a little casting mark that's right here, right by the number here, and right up on top, and you can feel it. But if you just have that and it's bent, use your other finger to scrape it off, and there it is. It's not that bad, but it's there's some stuff that's there. And then you can further inspect things with a mirror. Use a mirror, like this. So then you can kind of get up in here and you can see what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and give it a bath, or I'm going to go ahead and go one more time in the solvent, and this time I'm going to make sure that it's this way so I can get up inside the back side of these valleys really good. And then then I'll just take one of these. On the inside is fine, and then you can do this with both hands. You get all that and get all your corners and go all around, because you want to make sure this is perfectly clean. So that's the kind of stuff that's in there. You want to make sure that you get it all out. That way there you're sucking everything pure. All cleaned inside and out. You will see it's very, very clean now. This is where the EGR tube goes to. Now underneath that and up against the side, up inside, there could be a lot of carbon, and like I mentioned, you know, you can just anything like copper or something from the underneath side, doesn't scratch anything, worked really great. If you remember, on this EGR, they used a blue Loctite. So you want to make sure you clean your threads really well, and I just took this little vice grip here and then a wire brush, right, and I clean off all that blue, right, and then you need to blow this out as well, right, and you'll find out, now I've done it, but you'll find out that if it's got blue threads still going to be on the inside of this thing. This is the hardest thing to clean out, is the actual threads itself. And you can see how nice and easy it is now. And actually these will go all the way through. You see? These holes are completely open on the other side. Okay? So you want to make sure that you clean out all those threads, and the same thing with your bolts. I mean, I've already done this, but I'm just doing this for for demonstration. But these don't go all the way through. So after you've done all this and your threads are all cleaned, you know, I recommend you don't use WD-40 or anything on these screws, because you're going to end up putting some Loctite back on them, and you want to make sure that you don't interfere with the Loctite. There we are, we're all done. It looks great. It's not perfect, you know, we could put this in the tumbler and all kinds of stuff, but we're reconditioning. We are not remanufacturing or anything like that. Alright, so now that takes care of this. Now let's move on to the upper part of this. So this is the top. Just sitting on a little workbench right now. It's upside down. And the reason is because when I flooded all of my cylinders with oil and everything, I kind of got a bunch of oil in the intake manifold. We're going to go ahead and take this and we're going to put it down in that. This is my solvent that I use over there, and when it gets dirty I filter it and I put it over here. So this becomes my first bath for these things that are so darn dirty. As you can see, there's no sense in having any of that in my nice clean tub over there. I want to see. So before I go dumping anything else in here, we're going to go give it a water bath first. So I'm going to take it outside and clean her up. Alright, so I've just taken it outside and washed it with just some Dawn dish soap and just kind of made sure it was, you know, not dripping anymore. Now, I want to take these things off all around this whole thing, but I want to document it and I need a place to put it. So I have a freezer bag and I've labeled it intake upper. And because I'm scared to death this is going to wear off, I also have it on a piece of paper, intake upper. I'm going to put that inside. I'm going to get this top one out. It's a 13 millimeter. We'll have to see on the inside, but it just came right out of here. this is our vacuum line that we already labeled originally as A. Alright, now I'm going to give this a twist and a pull. It probably is a check valve. If you notice here, there's an arrow. I can't tell if you can see it, but that arrow is going this way. This is the broken one, and I purchased a new one for this. So I'm going to take that off. That's a 19 millimeter. And I actually took that off already because I wanted to get the number off the back of that. It's interesting that both of these look identical, so I'm gonna see if they are. So there's no washer or anything on here that I can see. Nope. There's no washer, but that's what it is. This is the broken one, right? This one's not labeled, but we have it labeled already from where that came from. Again, that's a 19 millimeter. Okay, just going to use my open end here. I had not taken that one off, so this is the first time. I'm just going to leave everything together. No sense in messing it up, but we all know how it is. But I want to see something though when we do this. You know, this is hard and brittle. I believe I bought some hose for that. So this one, let's see if we can, we can get a serial number or whatever you, whatever you want to call it. Part number. I would imagine it really doesn't matter which ones you plug these two into, but if you can see, the one that's straight is this one here, and the one that's at an angle is our hose. Both of these appear to be similar in their shape. This has got to be fairly new because it doesn't have any carbon or anything underneath it, not like the other one. That's the one that I broke, and this is the one that was in there. So that has been changed. I think I might have changed that one. It's a different part number. Can't even read it. Again, this is the front of the vehicles over on this side. You'll get the reference. But let's go ahead and take AA out. Right, this is AA. See where it is? Right next to that post. Now we've got this other green one. That is a 22 millimeter. You can probably put this thing on there, no? And we'll pop that off. I'm not sure if I bought a new one of these or not. Don't want to break it, right? In case I didn't buy a new one. Well, why would I want to buy a new one? You'll see. It is new. You can see there's no carbon or anything anywhere. Can't focus that way, I guess. I'm just a little too close, that's all. So now I've got this whole thing broken down. We can take these off too, because we've got water in there and no sense in causing rust. I don't think that needs to be taken off. But for now, I'm not going to worry about that. So I just kind of wanted to get an idea of how things have been running. I just wanted to see if anything looked worse, you know, than another. There's a little bit of junk in there. There it is. I mean, these are all correspond with each other, so. Big giant chamber type stuff. I mean, I don't really get it. You know, how this actually works. I remember, you know, the old car, like take a Volkswagen for example, Weber carburetor or a Solex. That's right, I think it was called a Solex. So, right, it's just basically gravity fed. It has a float. You know, you open it up, it's just like this, like a lawnmower. You know, nice and simple, and you know, and then it has just the 4 tubes going in. I mean, these are the same tubes. I get it, but oh my gosh, right? You'd think it wouldn't be black. You'd think it'd be like, I don't know, clean. It's gonna be. It's gonna be. There's something that was bothering me since the day when we took the engine apart. In the video where I'll put a link to whatever video that is, but it's part of the engine teardown or even engine pull. But when I took the top part of this off, I noticed that this hose wasn't, I couldn't pull the hose. It was all stuck in here, and I says, oh, that's pretty dumb because, you know, why would Mercedes put like a big tall nut on here? But what I found out is that is a washer that's on here. And according to the actual parts catalog, this does not have a washer. The other ones do, right? But that doesn't. So that looks like a washer to me. I'll show you when I get this back off. But this is how this whole thing goes, right? It feeds into the head there and all that great stuff. So now we know. So I'm going to go put this back. I just wanted to document that because that's the reason why it didn't fit. That washer doesn't belong there. So either one was missing in one of these spots, or, you know, when they took it, someone else was taking this engine apart. There's no way it could be this clean, right? There's no way without somebody doing something. I mean, not as clean as I get it, but it's clean. You know, this would have a lot more carbon at 139,000 miles. So it's been rebuilt. We know the bottom end, it looks like it was balanced. And, you know, so, I mean, it was all done right. It's just that they just missed little things. And those little things could become big things. So now we're just going to completely make it better. Just like before, I'm only going to use plastic type tools. You know, one of my favorite tools, of course, is just these pieces of plastic. You buy at your hardware store, you buy a pound of it. Different brushes and things to scrape it with, things to go down inside with. So that's everything we're going to need right there. So that's going to clean up nice. Why don't I turn off the video camera and then, you know, I'll come back to it. There's no sense of wasting too much video storage. That is where I scraped it off. You can see that thing doesn't leave any marks. And the marks that you see I said I saw some little swirls and things. That's that. See, that's not from me. I haven't really cleaned it off yet. Okay, so I just stuck it in our nice clean degreaser, and we'll go ahead now and, you know, we can use the red pad if we wish on these surfaces. You know, water-based degreaser, so it's compatible with my soap. I even think it has a little bit of detergent in it. Anyways, the crystal. It's the same thing we used on the bottom. About it. I don't think you can get it much better than that. So there's what it looks like. You remember all that corrosion that was on there? It's still kind of blackish, but it works pretty good. And here's the underside. Supports and if you were to look inside there, you'd see it's in pretty good condition. Oh yeah, see, these are the scratches I'm talking about. See all those? Yep, that's been machined, right? The other side, it's not like that. So it got like your regular scratches from when people try to clean it. Not for me. So I guess that's been machined, and that's just how they do it. So now we have it done, or cleaned I should say. We're not done, but you can see we got things pretty well cleaned up. And we can't make it better than it was. Well, I mean, yeah, I made it better than it was. No doubt about it.